Hi everybody, watch me. Here I am with another ad hoc video for this week. How exciting! There's so much happening, and I just feel this pull to do more videos than usual for you. So I hope you enjoy it. There's a lot going on. The Grammys have just happened, and we have a very unexpected situation, and that's basically the reason for my excitement. We have Mr. Bad Bunny winning Album of the Year, an album recorded in Spanish. So this situation, I think has a lot to unpack and is very meaningful for me personally as someone who comes from Spanish speaking background, who is very aware of my accent and how different I am to everybody where I live here in Australia. So there's a lot for me personally here, but I think there's also a lot for us to unpack as a community, because in case you haven't noticed, things can look very different on the surface, but this is really not about an accent, not about language. It's about so much more. So that's why I wanted to come and discuss Bad Bunny and his historic win at the Grammys. So 10 years ago, Mr. Bad Bunny was a grocery bagger at some shop in Puerto Rico, where he's from. And last night, he made history as the first artist ever to win Album of the Year with a project recorded entirely in Spanish. So, big thing. So that in itself is one thing, but also he did the thing where, as he was announced as the winner, he actually covered his face, leaned on the table he was sitting on, and took a minute or so to cry in front of all the cameras, knowing that he was being watched by millions of people. He didn't stand up and walk to stage or celebrate it. He just cried. He took his time to release. And that is also a very telling thing. He was, his system was processing what had happened, the magnitude of his achievement. And that is very telling about safety, about being comfortable with who he is, and about feeling, right, and not performing. So that in itself caught my eye as well. And I noticed that a lot of people were commenting about his reaction online. And as we know, our reactions are an expression of our subconscious and what we feel, how we see the world, how we see and perceive others and ourselves. So that in itself also was very interesting. So, okay, let's pause here for a moment. Okay, so just looking at my notes because there's so much that I wanted to say here, so bear with me. Okay, so first and foremost, as you know, in the music industry, there is this sort of subconscious role that says that in order for someone to go global, to become a superstar, they need to, become mainstream. That is, translating your songs, putting out music mostly in English, look a certain way, dim your ethnicity or your roots, right? To basically become very Americanized or very Anglo in a way. That is the role. But what did Mr. Bad Bunny do? None of that. His entire career, he rejected that notion, that subconscious collective belief. And he didn't. He didn't translate himself. He didn't dim his Puerto Rican roots. He just stood firmly on his sovereignty. He really owned who he is and where he came from. And the entire world had to come to him. So that is major. Like from the point of view of the subconscious, that is huge. And then when he came on stage, he led with, in a room, you gotta remember who is in those rooms. In that room, he went onto stage and he said, "Eyes out," referring to the ICE situation happening in America right now. And then his speech, his acceptance speech, was also mostly in Spanish. He only switched to English to say, and I'm going to read this to you. He said, "We are not savages. We are not animals. We are not aliens. We are humans, and we are Americans." Again, that is a huge nervous system way of reclaiming and belonging without making any apologies for who he is, right? So Benito used that's his real name. Obviously, he's not called Bad Bunny. He used a word in his speech where once he turned to English, where he said, "We are not contaminados. We are not contaminated," is what he wanted to say. So once again, he stood there with not perfect English, and he was absolutely fine in that moment to be himself. And I know for many of you, this may be like, "Oh, no big deal," but you gotta remember the situation, the magnitude, the public, and that is very rare, very rare. And when he said that, he was speaking about how hate contaminates our system. And again, from a somatic perspective, that was so spot on. Everything he said, how he reacted and acted was so spot on. He said that chronic hate keeps fear in the body. Well, he didn't say that, I'm saying, but chronic hate, what he was referring to, the situation in America with ICE that he perceives as creating a lot of hate in the system, contaminating it, and how we don't fight hate with more hate was his invitation. He said we need to be stronger, love is stronger, lean into love each other, love your communities, love your fellow people. And from a somatic point of view, that is so important because chronic hate in the system creates high alert, creates the system being in fight or flight or freeze, a constant state of having to brace and a system that can't relax, that eventually can lead to sickness, to chronic illness, to inability to sleep well at night, or digestive issues. It can go into so many ways. Also anxiety in terms of mental health, and it can lead to so many negative states that we don't prefer. So the way that he said that the hate contaminates the system and leaning into love, that was so wise. He didn't make political statements as much as just calling people to love each other. And I thought that was really good of him, really great to have that presence of mind. So when he refers to leaning to love, obviously it's not the cheesy romantic comedy type of love, but it's a call to stop fighting, to stop fearing each other, to stop judging, and love as the ultimate way to regulate the system is the way I see it. But love as unity, as looking out for each other and dropping judgments, really. So again, that was powerful and that was moving. And I know that a lot of people didn't quite connect with his speech because most of it was in Spanish. But I think it was very wise that he actually changed to English to say that. So, in processing all this and observing all this, think about the courage that it takes to accept the biggest award in the world of music. I know for a lot of people, the Grammys are not what they used to be, and rightly so. I don't think that they are as big as they used to. They don't carry the same maybe credibility that the Grammys used to many years ago, but still right now is probably one of the biggest awards that the music industry has in the world. And think about the courage that it takes to go and stand on stage without the need of tidying up his presence, his English, his words, his accent, or even politics, and just be so, I don't want to say unpolished, it's just because it's not even that, it's just being so authentic, and how much courage that takes. So if you've ever felt like you need to translate yourself to be accepted at work or in your family or even into a new country, Benito is just your permission slip to do that. And I'm not saying translating in terms of language, but how many times I see this with a lot of my clients too, like they are into crystals and spirituality and they feel that they can't present themselves in that way at work, that they need to polish up their persona, the way they present themselves, or maybe when they are with their partners, in-law, well, with the partner's family or friends, and they need to not talk about certain things and censor and translate themselves in a way to be accepted. I think this is something that a lot of us have faced at some point in our lives, and it takes a lot of courage to just accept ourselves so much that we can be ourselves in that way in front of anybody. So I thought that was really, really interesting and really cute to see. So your accent is the part of you that you feel that is too much or too different, just to clarify, right? It's not really a weakness. Standing in your uniqueness is your sovereignty. And we tend to forget that or not maybe value it as much. How amazing it is to celebrate and own what makes us unique. I know for me personally, I've struggled with this many times. Like my hair is different than most Australians' hair. My accent is obviously different, my skin color. So, and even what I do, all this is very different. And sometimes it takes work to get to the point of feeling like, okay, no worries, I can show up exactly as I am in my messiness, with my curly hair, with my accent, and just put a video out there and hope that people appreciate it. It takes courage. And I know a lot of my clients have felt this at some point in their life. So that was a lot of what I wanted to talk about. But let's go back to that part when he was crying. He allowed himself that time to have a little sob before going on stage. And when we see a man crying with his hands in his face before or while history is being made, we are seeing a system finally feeling safe enough to let go of the burden of proof, right? If you are ready to stop translating yourself and start living from your own sovereignty, this is the work that we do in my one-on-one sessions, my subconscious rewire that I call alchemy of belief, where we rewire our beliefs our subconscious, and we look at what those subconscious beliefs are, where they came from, anything that tells you that, like in this case, maybe that is dangerous to be your unpolished self, so that you can show up in the world as you are and feel safe enough to be yourself, to have a sub if you need, even if you're on the biggest stage, and just feel so embodied and so authentic with who you are. I'm gonna leave a link in the comments below if you're interested. Otherwise, let me know what you think about all this. Let me know if you've seen the Grammys. What do you think of his win, his acceptance speech? I know that for a lot of us, Spanish-speaking Latin community, that was a huge thing. Maybe for you guys it's not as much, but let me know. Let me know what you think. And well, I think this is it for now. Am I forgetting something? I don't think so. The next video should be Monday, as always. Hopefully no more ad hoc videos. But funny, I was just thinking before of the 2 extra videos I did this week. One was about Carlos Alcaraz winning the Australian Open Grand Slam, and this one, Bad Bunny's Benito's win. It's like how interesting to observe how those two are about victories, about winning, about the big stage, and how different their systems react to that big stage, to the victory, right? I think that contrast is also so powerful, because while Carlos is all about feeling safe in the intensity and holding a belief that is great, like it energizes him to bring that intensity. He feels so safe, just bringing all of him to the stage. And Bad Bunny's case, obviously he's feeling safe in his authenticity, but the expression of it is so different. And this is what I really want to showcase with these videos, is how our subconscious can, on the surface perhaps, look very normal, or oh yeah, this guy is winning, whatever, but looking deeper to see what's going on in their systems, because these two guys, as you can see, are very, very different. Whereas Bad Bunny is more about like, I'm doing me, I'm not changing, I'm not polishing myself, and the world comes to watch me. Carlos is all about bringing that intensity, being seen, going big, enjoying the big moments, being so playful in them. How very different their wiring is. So I hope you really get that. I hope you enjoy this. We call them the Victory series. And I'll see you on the next video.